December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
For 73 years, the remains of more than 20 U.S. service members who perished in the attack at Pearl Harbor have gone unidentified. One man is determined to correct that injustice, no matter who he has to fight and how long it takes. It is a real pleasure to welcome to MidPoint. He is a Pearl Harbor historian, but more to the point, a survivor of that day who did not hesitate to get behind his 50mm machine guns on the deck of the USS Honolulu and open fire on the attacking Japanese planes. It's what we would consider a genuine hero. Ray Emory joins us. Ray, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to you, certainly in Honolulu. At last we saw, Ray, you have spent all these years collecting, cross-checking, collating all these documents to find who was in these graves marked unknown. And as I said, last time we heard that there were 20 U.S. service members that you were still trying to identify. Is it still these 20?
Well, I've got about 100 names over at JPAC right now over the years, but the ones you're referring to are from USS Oklahoma.
How close do you feel you're getting to actually finding the identities of these young men, and what are the challenges that you're facing?
Of the 22?
Let's just say of the 20, for instance, on the Oklahoma.
Well, if the paper trail is correct, you'd be 99.99% correct.
What is the challenge that you're still facing, though, from the U.S. government? Are they helping you as much as they can?
Just doing something. They're totally reorganizing right now. I don't know. They've been in turmoil for about the last year, and Dr. Holland is leaving as of the first of the year, and they're bringing in other people, and it's nothing going to get done till next year.
So you've got 21 buried in 5 caskets in 3 graves. I guess what many people would like to know is how usual was it then after Pearl Harbor for them to put a lot of the bodies of servicemen in mass graves? Because many of us thought that they found them all individually.
We got as many as 22 in one grave.
As many as 22? And have you identified any of those?
No. That was kind of the end of the operation. There's 21 and 22 Oklahoma casualties in the last 2 burial sites.
Let's talk about the United States government itself and the help they're giving you, because we've had senators who have sent a letter to Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel. They want him to exhume the caskets and identify the remains. From what I understand, is the government reticent to exhume these remains?
Well, yeah, they after that letter was written, then they went out and said, well, do these people want their remains returned? So they go out and make another survey, and sure enough, that most of the people want them returned. Well, that's where the status is right now with all this turmoil going on. Like I said, I repeat, nothing's going to get done until that's the first of the year.
Why after the first of the year, Ray?
Because of the reorganization, the shuffle of personnel.
Have you
Dr. Holland has been out here for years. He's leaving as of the first of the year.
Have you talked to a lot of the families, the descendants of these men?
I've talked to a lot of the families. Oh, yeah.
What have they said to you about still going after and still trying to find the identities of these men all these years later?
The ones that I talked to, 99% of them want their remains returned.
And why is this important to you?
To me?
To you personally?
Well, I guess it's because of how I got into it. Excuse me. How I got in to begin with. On the first Hembry case I got into, the family was telling us, the family did in the house spelled the boy's first name, and then they were getting letters back and forth that they weren't going to do anything, and then all of a sudden I got involved in it. What it take to do it. After putting all the work together and the records, after submitting it, took them 5 years to dig him up.
Does it dismay you that the government isn't trying to help you a lot faster and get this done?
It's not helping me, it's just helping the families.
How much does that upset you, though, that it still is a fight?
Oh, I'm used to it by now.
I guess you would also be used to what's happening there in Honolulu as well. I got what he's saying
is time, patience, and perseverance to accomplish all things, I guess.
Do you deal with this on a day-to-day basis? I mean, every single day are you doing something new?
26 hours a day, 8 days a week.
And with regard to not only but these kids and finding out their identities, there's been a lot of stories recently about the fact that a lot of the memorials out there in Honolulu, for Pearl Harbor, rather, are just not being well kept. That the National Park Service is not doing a really great job in keeping them to the cleanliness that they should be.
That's another story. That's the Park Service at the Arizona Memorial. I'm concerned about this, the Punch Bowl, which is the National Cemetery of the Pacific. And there's all kinds of screw-ups in that cemetery, just like there was in Arlington.
Are you, as part of what's happening, though, at Pearl Harbor, though, how upset are you that the National Park Service isn't taking care of everything here and making sure that people see this in as pristine a condition as possible?
Out the Arizona Memorial for 3 years, and I was raised and held with them prior to the 50th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. I made the front page cover of Wall Street Journal about a week before the 50th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. It hasn't changed 20 years.
Why is that? Why has it not changed? What are they missing here? This should be kept in as good a condition as possible.
The story of Pearl Harbor. They don't know how to tell the story of Pearl Harbor.
You mean the National Park Service?
Correct. They bring people in. They bring people in from the mainland. They bring them here about 2 or 3 days. They turn them loose to the wolves, and that's what do they know about Pearl Harbor to start with.
What is it that you think, and you have a chance here to reach a rather global audience, what is it that we should know about Pearl Harbor, the history of Pearl Harbor, that you think is not being told properly?
Well, for instance, one small thing. How many ships were in Pearl Harbor that day? The Park Service can't tell you, but I could rattle off about 150 vessels right now that were there that day. Each one of those ships got a story to tell, not just the battleships like the Arizona, and not taking anything away from the kids from the Arizona. But the story of Pearl Harbor is never told.
Ray, I have this feeling that if you continue on, that you will be able to tell this story sooner or later, and people should start listening a little bit more to what you're doing.
Well, I don't know about that, but I take it a day at a time.
Well, what you're doing is certainly yeoman's work, and it certainly is laudable because you're taking time to try and identify these young men who gave their lives. We just want to say thank you for your service. We want to say thank you very much for being there, and thank you very much for caring about all these families.
Thank you.
All right, Ray. Take care.
Have a good
Be
day.
well. You too as well. All of these bodies that are still there, that were buried in mass graves, the man is 90. He says he's going to stay with it as long as he can. Stay with us. MidPoint continues.